life as we see it. Every day we come together and we're having conversations in our lives. Today, we're going to be doing exactly the same thing. We're going to be moving the needle. And the is to drive our conversation in such a way that every single person can find some parts of what we talk about to relate with. By inference, it means that you would hear the live class and say, oh, I can connect with A, B, or C. So, like we've always done week in, week out, it is life as we see it, no airs around us. We're connected to you on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. Let's know where you're dialing in from. Okay, Charles, I'm dialing in from Facebook, on LinkedIn, from Lagos, from Puerto Rico, from Brazil, from America, from Canada, wherever it is you're dialing in from. Show it us in the chat box. And then don't forget, this is your show. Questions, observations, contributions is at your behest. Today, we have Lara Yeku right in the house, and she is no less a person, a coach, a facilitator, a people organizer, a HR gem, etc., etc., a mother. She's wearing many caps. But today, I'm going to ask Lara to do us the honors. Tell our viewers from all over the world who is Lara. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Coach Charles, for having me on today's live class with Charles. I'm really excited about this. Thank you. And I'd like to say hello to all our viewers around the world. So that question about who is Lara, okay,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say that Lara is someone who is very passionate, who loves her life, right? And who is equally looking forward to make an impact in her world. So I am purpose driven. So for me, it's about loving life, knowing what my purpose is in this world, and enjoying life the way it is. And I find expression in several ways as I do this. One, as a beautiful woman, I find expression in knowing what I love to do. I love to dance. I love to impact. I love to be of help to people. I find expression in several ways. I'm an author. Is another way through which I find expression in bringing stories to connect with people, to let people know that you are not going on your journey alone. Someone has been through that journey before. And I bring those stories to the world so people can connect and then find their own strengths to design their own life. And I do that through my book called my HR Storybook, as well as my HR monthly live series sessions where I invite professionals to come online and talk about real life issues in the workplace, right? So that's one way I find expression. And of course, coming live to talk about my story at such platforms like this is another way that I've tried to find expression. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to another session with live class with Charles today. Thank you.
Amazing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the difference, right? A dancer, a writer, a speaker, a coach, all roll the world. So she's pulling on the thugs, but there's one thing she said that struck me the most: purpose expressed in different branches. So I welcome everyone to the live class with Charles. In a moment, we are going to dive into the conversation of the day. It's the live class with Charles.
Awesome.
Oh, rise or stoop. Every day, we are faced with the need of rising to the occasion or stooping to conquer. The one rising is not proud, the one stooping is not foolish. Just as many things we need are at the top, so are many treasures hidden on the ground. So do not stop until you reach the top. Bend low until you hit gold. Either way, let success be your full stop. Do not jump to pull down. Do not dig to disgrace. Climb to reach. Dig to discover. Water always finds its level. Do not allow it drown you with each passing day. Just find your flow and glow. I wish you well. The life class with Charles. Hmm. C.L. White's Day. While I was reading that, what was running through your mind?
Wow, I mean, hearing you read that brought in a couple of memories, right? And things that I'd gone through in the past. And at that moment, they felt odd. It felt they felt tough. But hearing you read now and reflecting brought back those memories with some sense of joy and fulfillment. So at that period of our lives where you have to either take a decision to rise or stoop low, it might be difficult for you at that period where you have to find your own flow so you can glow, might be confusing and challenging, and you will be wondering what way. You might feel lonely, you might feel, oh, everything is happening to others around me, but why not me? You might be asking questions that don't have answers at those periods. But guess what? On the long run, it all adds up. By the time you need to connect all the dots, you look back and you're fulfilled and you find excitement in the results that comes out of it. So for me, it took me down the memory lane, and I like to share a particular story. I mean, I remember there was a particular period in my life when everyone was going for their masters. I mean, going for masters was like the in thing way back then,
Exactly. Exactly.
especially with your friends at school, and then you finish, and the next thing you hear this person is in this country, this person in another country, they are pursuing their masters. And here you are, a young little girl who is trying to survive to make ends meet, right? And all you had was just your job to keep, to protect, and survive on the job. And at that period in time, it felt like, okay, everybody around me is going masters. Here I am just working. And
Right.
I went and I went with life knowing that my own timing is different. I learned that I don't have to compare myself. It's their time, it's okay. My time would come, and at that period. But a couple of years down the lane, I look at myself and I try not to compare. But of course,
Right.
when I'm in a circle of, my old friends or alumnus group or alumni group where we're all talking and all of that. I'm grateful. I mean, I'm grateful in terms of how I have risen in my career at that period when I thought without a master's I can't progress. So I've had to find my own lane, which is deepen an area of expertise in my career and then glow and shine in that my expertise and specialty, which is human resources. And today, you know, I'm a, I'm a thought leader when it comes to my role, what I do, or my profession. And I'm not defined by not having a master's way back then, you know. So yeah, sometimes it might feel, oh, this is what is trending. Everybody's doing this, and you might not have the means at that period in time. But find your true self, be clear what path you want to chart for yourself, and still focused on it. So listening to you really brought back all those memories. And
Wow.
today I'm grateful for life because once there's life, there's hope, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's just to let people know that just hang in there. I mean, we all have our different periods, we all have our different timing in life. There was a particular period where it felt uh, uh, all my friends were getting married. I wasn't married at that point, but who
Wow. That's
cares?
important. That's so crucial.
Who cares? As long as I'm happy and I'm living a fulfilling life, marriage doesn't define my future or my success. So understand your season, embrace it, love yourself, don't compare yourself, and find your glow, find your flow and glow. Right. So I mean those would be my contribution to that.
It's so powerful. There's so much. I'm wondering which line now are you going to use, Charles? Which line? Which line? Are you going to use the line of the conversation around you being grateful? You're not comparing, but I'm grateful for where I am. Or am I going to use the line of you saying that, look, what I don't have doesn't define me? Or am I going to use the line of know your season? Know your season. So, well, I'm going to pick one of the two because there's so much to think about from what you said. All right, I'm going to start from understanding your season. You know, at that point when you wanted to go abroad, I know that many people have been in that space, and sometimes they even think, I wish I came from a rich home where I can get the admission now, just I can't pay the fees. And meanwhile, there are homes where they are saying, Get the admission. We will pay anywhere you want to go." And you find that there doesn't seem to be a balance. Okay. Now, how do you connect that with reality? Because people are now saying to themselves, I feel disadvantaged because I see another person who seems to be at an advantage.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile the reality of people who see their own station, and at least from what they see, it looks like a disadvantage?
Yes, I mean that's a very great question, and I remember a particular experience that I had when I was serving at a manufacturing organization. I I studied in Nigeria, and we had core members who studied abroad. At the end of the month, when we are supposed to go and collect our allowance, like salary at from HR,
Right.
those core members that studied in Nigeria were earning 20,000 naira, and the core
Okay.
members who studied abroad were earning over 100K, right? And
Wow.
at that point, I remember every month I would go and I look at the salary list. You will see your name, but by the by the amount in front of your name, you can tell where you schooled, whether
Whether
in
you
Nigeria or abroad. You know, and at that point, every time I go and I'm like, God, my parents invested in me and my return is this. And the others whom their parents invested in them, their return is way higher. But guess what? I didn't allow the situation to make me resentful or not to be grateful or to be ungrateful for my situation. So really it comes from a place,
right,
it comes from a place of understanding and appreciating where you are at that moment and knowing that fingers are not equal. Fingers are not equal. Understanding as well that where you are at that moment is for a reason. Even you're in a season
hmm,
for a reason. We have different
right,
reasons, we have different seasons, and in those seasons we have the period of planting, we have the period of sowing, we have the period of tilting the ground and watering, and then a period of growth, and then the period of birthing when the fruits all come and you have to harvest. So it helped me to
right.
dimension my thinking, to reflect and be grateful for the little that I have rather than complain for not having that. So the balance that people need to bring in into those period in time is be grateful for the little that you have. Sometimes we do need certain things
Hmm,
and we don't have the resources. Two things happen. You either think through, how do I get the resources the legitimate way, right? Which could be, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I really do need this now. It's in line with my career path or with my growth or whatever. Then what are the options available for me? So your mind opens up to creative ways of options. And sometimes great things are birthed through a period where, you are really down and you are low and you know that something has to change. I can no longer go like this. So great
Right.
things happen through those periods. And the other option is to become resentful and you're wondering, you're complaining, why not this, why not that, and you're going the wrong way or the wrong path to achieving that goal. So it's really around dimensioning what works for you in line with your purpose, in line with your vision, in line with what you want to achieve, and also understand your season. It might not be a good time for you at the moment, and it might be a good time if you feel the release in your spirit that's a good time, and then you need to think of creative ways to get it done. Yes, you can go that path. Or sometimes it might just be the universe teaching you to help you to either become more patient or to redefine your ways or whatever. And sometimes miracles do happen if it is your time or if it is the season that you really need to get that thing done. So for me, it's really around the thinking and the mindset that we bring into those seasons that helps us to bring the balance overall.
Wow. This is powerful. You see, you talked about dimension your thinking because here you were, you probably were even putting in more effort than those who schooled abroad. Or let us even say the same effort because you were all undergrads who have finished school and then you were serving. So you're graduates, so to speak. And you didn't all have the same opportunities, even if you were making the right or the same input. When you talk about dimensioning your thinking, I want you to shed light about that because it's crucial to this reality. I find two people making the same contribution but receiving different results. And both of them have not done anything, you know, nothing wrong. I mean, both of them have just, they didn't do, the people who schooled abroad, had the opportunity to school abroad, but it is the same degree. They probably read economics you know, in one country outside the country, and then you read economics here, and both of you are sitting on the same table, but you're getting different return. How do you dimension your thinking in this kind of
Okay.
situation?
Awesome. Great question, Coach Charles. And
Yes.
I think the one of the things that would help you dimension your thinking is one, being fully aware of yourself. So I can
Okay.
have two people who studied in two different locations, one abroad, one local.
Yes.
And of course, we are also as we are shaped by our environment, by our culture, the things we are exposed to. But at the same time, when you're self aware, you can be more intentional with your personal development. There are
Okay.
some people who studied locally, but they are very sound, extremely knowledgeable. They've worked on themselves, to bring value. Meanwhile, we have some people who school abroad and they don't even deliver enough value as compared to those who school locally. So I think
Hmm.
it's a function of the individual, one being self-aware, two being conscious in developing themselves, enriching their thinking, taking a lot of personal development initiatives to grow as individuals. So, in as much as we have the external input that comes to us in terms of our experience where we've been to, there is a role that individuals also need to play in ensuring that they equip themselves, they learn, they unlearn, and they relearn as much as possible in line with where they're heading to. Even though you might not have the opportunity to travel abroad, there are courses you can take online now and then interact with people across the globe. So it's understanding yourself and equipping yourself, right? So for me, the individuals have their individual roles to play. After, I mean, you're out of school, you're working, then you need to look at your value quotient. What do I need to do to increase my value quotient? So if I
Right.
am in quotes at a disadvantage because I code locally, what are the other options for me to take? What are the skills I need to hone? What are the learnings? Are there online courses? In what areas? How do I increase my value quotient? So being self-aware and being intentional in developing yourself is what will separate, those individuals at the point where you have people who have different exposures, but being able to relearn, unlearn, and learn, and of course develop and focus on developing themselves. That is what would separate them.
That's powerful. I'm hearing learn, relearn, unlearn. And what I'm thinking right now is how these become keys to, that dimension thinking that you talked about. So here's what we're talking about: rising or stooping. It therefore looks clear to us that don't expect to find balance in life. You are to seek out the balance. So you're going to come into a system where they will regard men over women, even though they make the same contribution, regard whites over blacks or blacks over whites, even if they make the same contribution, regard, for your own story, a person who studied abroad over a person who schooled in Nigeria over the same role. So, pretty much, are you trying to tell us that in life, one of the areas of expressing dimension thinking is not to come with the expectation that it's going to be fair? You are going to work out your placing in life. Is that what you're trying to say, Larry?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we are shaped by different things. One, our upbringing, which sometimes you don't have control over the experiences and the events that have happened in your life. And that's the honest truth. We are shaped by our culture, the things around us, the things we see, your environment. I remember there was a period in my life when I knew I had to move out of a particular location because I was raising girls and I didn't want that environmental influence on them. And we had to intentionally relocate from that location to another location because of my children. I mean, so sometimes you just need to take decisions in line with where you're going to. So we are shaped by our environment, we are shaped by even the places that we work. I remember a colleague of mine was telling me she recently did her personality assessment, MBTI, and she said it's changed from the last place she had worked and the last location, and the last location was outside the country and it was a different organization. And now she's in a country as an expert in a different organization. And she was just taken aback that how come, how come, my traits have changed. And I said, in all honesty, can you say that where you're working have changed you one way or the other? And then she opened up and said, honestly, yes, where she's working has really changed her. The environment is different, the industry is different, the the culture of the organization is different. Now she has to play a lot of politics that she's not used to. So a lot of these things shape on us. They shape on us as we grow as individuals and as leaders. So, in the point of dimension is the point where you're making conscious effort. You're aware of what your competencies are, and then you're sort of building on the areas where you have gaps. And everything you take, all actions you take, are in that dimension, are in that line to help you build yourself in the right direction that you're headed to. I'll share a personal experience. I remember
Yes.
when I started my career in HR, I didn't want to be an ordinary HR person. I didn't want to be an HR professional. I wanted something to stand me out. From the first day I started my career, I discovered that I love numbers. Oh, I love
Okay.
numbers. And I said to myself, this is one area of strength and passion that I have. How do I how do I create a niche with what I love within the HR profession? And I took up the payroll role for a
Okay.
long period of years because I love numbers. From there, I evolved from payroll to compensation and benefit. From there, I also evolved to analytics, and I do
Wow.
people analytics, people and data analytics, just by understanding what my strength is and building and creating a niche for myself. I had to ensure that I create a niche for myself to increase the opportunity and my competitive advantage. So what are your competitive advantage in line with your strengths, in line with things you do, and how do you build on that to become a star so you can glow, know your flow, and then glow. So sometimes when life's each event happen to us and you either have to take a decision to either stoop to conquer, you're doing it in line with your overall career goal. Where is that end result that you want to achieve? At the moment that you're in, do you have to, in quotes, calm down and learn, or you have to confront and challenge to get your end result? So it's all in line with where you're headed to and what you want to achieve for yourself.
You know, when you talk about how you go them and said, I love numbers, I create a niche for myself. Speaking of rising and this subject of niche, what would you say to people who say, ah, I want a position, someone is already there. How do I get into that position? Because the life class today says, when you're going up, you don't need to pull someone down to get there. Thinking about it, what would you, how can a person break into a circle, define their niche in ethical ways?
Hmm, that's a very good question. A lot of times people feel envious when they find a particular role that they desire rather than them to understand what do I need to do to also get to that role. It's a function of the mindset. When you have the growth mindset, you would humble yourself, build the right relationship, and then learn what that person is doing so that you can also understand what you need to do. And that's called modeling in coaching. But if you don't have a growth mindset, you have a fixed mindset, you become envious, you're now questioning, okay, what does that person have that I don't have? Do they have two heads? Why can't I do
Yeah.
that? That is not the right approach. And in growing, we need to understand that we don't have to pull people down. I'll share an experience. So I remember many years ago when I was growing in my career as an HR officer, there there was a colleague of mine as well who, I mean, who were colleagues, and there was a period. The my line manager likes her. My line manager doesn't really like me because I don't know how to bootlick. I do my job, and then I move on. So in the process of the fact that, oh, she likes to bootlick to the line manager, she likes to give the line manager gist or information around things happening in the office. So she was like the line manager's ears amongst us. So the line manager liked her. And based on that,
Right.
she tends to get projects that are quite easy. So because I was working in a consulting firm and it was largely a project-based organization. So there was a particular project that she was working on and she wasn't making an headway, she wasn't finding the right candidates. for the clients. And out of the fact that my line manager likes her, you know,
Mhm.
collected the seemingly tough project
Mhm.
from her and tossed it at me and said, "You go and figure this out." I mean, I looked at that project. Initially, I was very
Right.
upset that somebody who's been working on this project has been having issues. Instead of you to see we had to resolve the issue, you took the project away from me, tossed it at me because I am your least liked, in the team.
Right.
But anyway, I took up the project. It was quite tough. I remember then we were looking for a senior role in the PR industry for a client, and there was no phone I mean, we didn't have easy access to phones like we do now then. And I remember how I would go from one company to another company just to source for contacts and all of that. Guess what? In the midst of this very tough project that was tossed at me because I was the least favorite of the line manager, I found my husband. I mean, I found my life partner in I found my husband. So somebody had given me his contact as a good candidate for the role, and I called him. He was in Abuja then, and then promised that okay, once he's in Lagos, he'll come and interview for the role.
Right.
And from you know, calling, come for interview,
Right.
don't come for interview. The story changed, and I met my life partner through that seemingly difficult project. So you know, sometimes when we think that something we are at a disadvantage, at the end of the
Uh-huh.
day, it turns out to be in your favor one way or the other. It could be in the way of learning or an experience that had to stretch you and you had to build resilience. I've had that several times. It could be in a way of, expanding your thinking as well. So in every challenge that comes our way, there is an opportunity. As you rise, it's also important to grow people because you never can tell. That gates man might be that person that would refer you. I'll end with the story of my uncle who, um, during his youth corps days, he went to this particular organization and they turned back core members. And at the gate, they will tell them, core members, we don't need NYC, we don't need anybody, please go, please go. But my uncle did something very different. Immediately he got to the gate, he's a Yoruba man. He saw the security man. Of course, because of the tribal marks on his face, he could tell that he was a Yoruba elderly security man. My uncle prostrated, and greeted him in Yoruba. And that singular action touched the heart of the security man. I said, we've been turning back core members all day. But because you came and you greeted me differently, wait, let me speak to HR. This security man walked in to HR, whispered to one of the HR person that he's built relationship with. He said, I have a young boy outside. He looks very respectful. I think he'll be a good one for our company. Please just talk to him. I know we are not taking NYC, but please just talk to him. And they gave my uncle access into the organization. Guess what? Today, he's the COO of the organization.
Wow.
Over
Wow.
18, 19 years. And when he came into the organization, they interacted with him. Of course, they offered him the youth corps role in the accounting department, and then he proved himself, as a high performer. And afterwards, of course, he had to also help that security man. I think security man eventually, his role evolved to an attendant before he retired and all of that. What am I saying? In your journey to greatness or to your career ladder, wherever you're going, one, be nice to people. A single security man was the guy who who made it possible for my uncle to gain access into the organization. So let's be nice. Don't make life is not. I mean, I tell people life is hard enough. Why make it harder by being unkind to people? It's not nice. So I mean, you never can tell where your help can come from. So let's just treat people right.
Right. And you know, words on marble, in every challenge, there is an opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, let's know where you're listening from. What questions do you have? What observations would you like to make? What contributions do you have for this conversation? If you need to dial in, it's 090 500 2661. 0901 500 2661. 0901 500 2661. If you're dialing in from outside Nigeria, remember to put the code 234. Okay? Send in your questions, contributions, observations. But here, what in every challenge is an opportunity. Wow. Lara, that resonates. I'm sure it reverberates across the world. It's reverberating across Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And for your uncle's story, who would have thought that being respectful would have led to becoming the COO of an organization? Stoop or rise. That's the life class, ladies and gentlemen. It says, rise or stoop. Your uncle had to go down to the, and it took him to the top echelon of the organization. I mean, if nothing explains or replicates the conversation, that hits the nail on the head. And I want to thank you for sharing your uncle's story. But you know, the life class says here, do not dig to disgrace. Do not dig to disgrace. What are your thoughts around knowing somebody's weakness in the workplace, for example, or in life, and exploiting their weakness? Have you ever been in a situation where someone tried to exploit your weakness? Or have you seen other people exploit the weakness of another person to get ahead in life?
Thanks so much for that great question yet again. So, in terms of exploiting people's weakness to take an advantage of them, I haven't had any personal experience, but there was one that I observed many years ago within the particular circle that I belonged to then. So, in this circle, there's a member of the circle who has a challenge with, communicating. He writes very well. I mean, he writes so well, fantastic, but he struggles with communication. He's a stammerer. He's a stammerer. And I remember there was a particular incident at work where, he got into an heated argument and he was struggling to express himself. He was really, really struggling. But because his colleague knew that he's a stammerer, that colleague took advantage of that and then went overboard to continue talking and not allowing him express himself. At the end of the day, he appeared that the colleague had more to say or had more points to prove, but because the other guy was a stammerer, and when you're a stammerer in terms of when you're agitated or you're emotionally high,
Can't talk.
it's very obvious you can't talk.
Right.
And that person gets it. You see, said it. I said he can't even defend himself. I said he did it. I said he did it. I mean, by the time the colleague who was somewhere narrated his experience, I really felt, pity for him that somebody took advantage of the fact that he was struggling with speech, and the people around him also did not even give him the listening ear to express himself. And at the end of the day, he got bashed for what he didn't do. So people take advantage of people's weaknesses, which is absolutely wrong. Because at the end of the day, it leaves more emotional damage than the intending goal they want to achieve. And you know what? People might not forget, sorry, people might not remember what you say to them, but they will never forget how you make them feel. So the feeling at the period in time is what people remember. That's why you have young children when they are ill treated when they are young, they grow up not liking certain uncle or aunt or auntie just because of how that person made them feel while they were young. People took advantage of their age, took advantage of the fact that they can't speak for themselves, and those experiences goes a long way in shaping how they eventually get to see or perceive those people. So it's wrong, and it also doesn't bring fairness and equity in terms of how we relate and we treat people around us. So it's I tell people to discourage it, give people an opportunity for fair hearing, at least to hear what their views are. If it's a weakness, do not capitalize on it, because at the end of the day, what goes around comes around.
Mm, mm. Now, someone's asked a question, said, assuming I have been trying to rise and doing everything right, but I don't seem to make progress, what should I do?
Great question. I always say to people that your breakthrough starts from your mindset. We are without first what we are within. What energy are you sending to
Okay.
the universe? If you want to rise and you
Mm,
are not in the right vibration to rise, for instance, you want to rise, they are agitated, they are worried, they are thinking, they are in doubt, you will not rise because the energy that you're putting out to the universe is not in alignment with what you want from the universe. So, first, take a step back and ask yourself, do I have the right mindset towards the success that I want to achieve? Do I have the right belief that I can achieve this success despite all that is around me? Do I have the right feeling towards this success? You want to succeed and yet you're in doubt? It's not going to happen because you're not in alignment to what you want. So I would tell that person to sit back, reflect, get your mindset right, get the feeling right. Even when you're in doubt, even when things are not looking right, you still have to stay in tune with your goal, which is that um, end success you want to achieve. Even if you are broke and things are looking, oh, things are not looking right, you still have to stay in tune with that. Because what happens is your mind opens up to your mind opens up for you to generate options, and before you know it, you are thinking of the possible ways that success can happen. In addition to that, be patient. A lot of times we want overnight success.
mm,
Microwave approach. Oh, I want this, and immediately we want results. There has to be a process to it. There has to be some commitment you have to make. There has to be some right habits because your thinking drives your feelings, which drives your behavior, your habits. Your behavior drives your actions, and your action drives your results. So that success is
mm,
the end goal, the result that we want to see. But walk it
mm,
back. Am I taking the right steps, the right actions? Do I have the right habits that would help drive the success? Am I in the right frame of mind? Do I have the right feeling to be in the right vibration and the right alignment? Then, do I think that I can achieve this? Do I have the belief that I can achieve this? So all of those pillars have to align for you to achieve your success. Overall, it takes a while, and then learn to practice gratitude. Gratitude just nails it for everyone. Be grateful for the little that you have. Be grateful for what you don't even have yet, and that just changes your mood and your mindset. And before you know it, you're energized to give in more to achieve your success.
Wow, wow. So here's what I'm getting from what you're sharing with all of us today. You want something and you're already thinking of that thing. You you're not thinking of what you the process. You're not thinking of how you align your thoughts, how you align your actions in order to reach the destination. So because you're focused so much on the destination, you begin to get agitated. There's so much agitation and energy on the process, that is making you feel like nothing is happening, even when you've done everything that you ought to do. So if you focus so much on the destination, your agitation will continue to increase. Rather, just go through the process. Is my thoughts in the right place? Are my actions in alignment with where I'm going, etc., etc.? We have two more questions here. See, well, the first question here is: I'm a confident person. I believe in myself, but people say I'm proud.
From an HR perspective, I can relate to that question because sometimes we see some candidates who come in for interview who are very confident and they come across as arrogant.
Yes.
They come across as arrogant. So I think for me, for that person, one is you have to, one, first and foremost, be open, you have to be open to receive feedback. You can come across as quite confident in yourself or in your abilities, right? But be be seen as arrogant, and you don't want to put people off. So one, listen and keep an open mind for feedback. Because I say to people, there's a thin line between being overconfident and being arrogant. Very thin line, very thin line. Because you're good at what you do, and duh, it's you. you know, it's your abilities, it's you. Flaunt it, you've got it. You've got the skills, you've got the experience, you've got the expertise, you've got the looks, but at the same time, it's important to put a check to ensure that you're not perceived as being arrogant. You could also be in the way you talk. So try and find out how do I come across as being arrogant. Sometimes it could be in the way you talk. It could be that when you talk, you are either a bit too forceful or you don't listen. It's your way or the highway. So
Hmm.
try and understand the behaviors that you're demonstrating that is making you come across as being arrogant. That way, you take specific feedback, and it will help you improve yourself. But just be mindful that there's a thin line between being overconfident and being arrogant, and you just want to be very mindful of that thin line. And we're all work in progress. No one is perfect.
That's right.
Keep an open mind, take those feedback, and continue to work and improve yourself.
Okay. Keep an open mind, taking feedback, be considerate of other people around you and find out exactly why you think you're proud. Feedback. So here's someone who says, I find it difficult to endure when things are not working. I change and I move on. How do I
Hmm.
resolve this?
Hmm. Thanks. That's a great question. When you find it difficult to endure and things are not working, you change and you move on. First, you need to try and understand what are your belief system around endurance and resilience. You might also need to reflect whilst you were growing up, were there any period in your time where you just couldn't hang on anymore? So there has to be an element of your conditioning that you need to walk back to understand where did that come from. It might also speak to some of your personality traits. Do you understand your personality traits? Do you know who you are? What are your weaknesses? For some people, it might be that they can't hang on for so long because they haven't been able to build a lot of resilience. For some people,
Hmm.
it can be willpower, right?
Right.
They don't have very strong willpower. For some people, it can be the life experiences that might have shaped them. For instance, I remember a particular friend who was in a relationship for about 8, 9 years and ended up not in marriage. And that broke her, and she made up her mind that she would never wait for anything. I mean, she made that decision consciously. And today, and today, today, she, I mean, if anything is taking too long, she becomes very impatient, subconscious. She becomes very impatient and then she switches and moves on. So you might need to dig back to some of your power experiences and understand where that belief is coming from. What's your willpower? What's your resilience measure? Are you someone who, you don't even have the strength and the energy and you just move on? So it has to do with some deep rooted belief system that you have. You need to dig it, and of course, work on improving yourself with conscious effort to become more resilient, to become more, to develop strong willpower, to become more focused. Sometimes it might impact your level of focus. It might impact your level of concentration. It might impact so many other things, but you need to work on yourself in that area.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much, Lara. I mean, it's incredible the things that you have shared with us, the life experiences, especially. I will never forget how they give you a tough project and you went, you were unhappy about the project, but you went ahead to do it only to find your husband. I will never forget that. Those life experiences shape you forever. Or your uncle who went down low and rose to become the COO just because he was humble to the gate man. I mean, incredible. That's incredible. You know, that's incredible. So, I would just ask you as we wrap, what is that in you, Lara, that you would have shared with us? What is it? I didn't ask the question, so it didn't come out.
Okay, so what's that thing I would have loved to share? Hmm, find your joy. Find your
Okay.
joy. Gosh, I mean, find that sport that when you're in your low moment, you can always reach out to find your joy. For me, for some people, it's singing. I mean, singing just changes everything for them. For some, it could be reading. For some, it could be dancing. You know, but find your joy in terms of what is that inner, what's that thing that once you latch on it, it changes everything for you. For me, it's dancing. That sometimes I'm just moody, I'm overwhelmed, I'm upset. I just turn on the music and then begin to change. And I'm dancing, I'm shaking my body. And I realize that, gosh, I'm feeling better. And by sometime 11 p.m., I'll sing and be dancing. No, you think I'm going for a championship. I'll finish dancing and I'll now go and sleep. No, this is, come on. My mental health. So in finding your joy, it helps with your mental well-being. It helps with your emotional well-being and your physical well-being. Find what works for you, and spend time with yourself. A lot of times we spend so much time on social media than with ourselves. And that's the honest truth. We are on phone from the moment you open your eyes in the morning to the moment where you shut your eyes, you're on phone. We hardly spend me time. It's just you think, reflect, meditate, appreciate yourself. So let's just find more me time and find what gives us joy and connect more with it. Thank you so much for having me on this program.
Wow, wow. What a breathtaking word. What a breathtaking word. And I'm going to piece it this way: find the me time. Your me time will open your eyes to where to find your joy. The topic is rise or stoop. Now, if you find your joy, the moments when you're low, it can help you get back on top. Wow. What a conversation.
Absolutely.
Rise or stoop. Wonderful. Wonderful. So I'm going to go back to all the social media platforms now and give the credits. We had Ife join us, Israel join us, we had Dolapo, Evelyn, Simon. They were just sending in the quotes as you
Thank
were sharing
you.
them.
Thank you.
So I'm sure some gem stars there, and then on Twitter as well.
Thank you, Gem
So
Stars.
shout out. you know, it's been an amazing evening. And now we will read the live class again. And when I come back, we'll say goodbye. Rise or stoop. Every day, we are faced with the need of rising to the occasion or stooping to conquer. The one rising is not proud, the one stooping is not foolish. Just as many things we need are at the top, so are many treasures hidden underground. So, do not stop until you reach the top. Bend low until you hit gold. Either way, let success be your full stop. Do not jump to pull down. Do not dig to disgrace. Climb to reach. Dig to discover. Water always finds its level. Do not allow it drown you with each passing day. Just find your flow and glow. I wish you well. The live class with Charles. Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Lara.
much.
Sharing from the bottom of your heart and the depths of your soul. We're so grateful that you came today on the live class with
Thank
Charles.
you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the live class with Charles. It's your show, Life as We See It. And as we sign off today, don't forget it's still the same way we go every day. Whatever you do, however way you do it, just be the best. And not just the best, the very best. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.